Hey, this is Rich over at TVP Live with another quick tips tutorials brought to you by Photoshop Elements Custom Tutorials Group. And let's jump right in with today's poster who wants to know how to fix this photo. There's a lot of little things going on here. It's a beautiful photo, wonderful concept, and it looks great, but it can use a little bit of help. So first of all, I'm going to make a copy of this and sit it side by side so you can watch the original and see what we're doing with the copy. So in order to do that, I'm going to first go to Image, resize the canvas size here in Photoshop Elements, and the width is 13.3. It's okay if I just double it and add a little bit. So I'll just do something like 30 across, and the height, we'll just make that about 22 inches. This gives us a little bit of extra room to work with. I'm going to move the photo over here and then make a working copy right next to it. I can come up here and hit duplicate, and that will duplicate the photo. Just drag it over, and now we got two photos. Now the first thing I want to do is make the horizon here a little more level on the left side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to distort the left side of the photo and drag it up, and this will bring up the whole photo. But we don't want the whole photo to be brought up, just this portion right here. So in order to do that, I'll first make a duplicate. I'm going to right click and hit duplicate layer, and that puts two layers right on top of each other. I'm going to take that top layer and I'm going to come up to Image, Transform, and Distort. I'm going to grab that corner here and check what happens. I can do anything with that one corner, and I'm going to bring it back where we started and just literally lift it up until that horizon is a little bit more straighter like this. Now if the trees were bending in because of what we were doing, we could always pull it out and rebend them out or bend them in even more. So you can do whatever you want. I'm going to actually pull it out just a little bit so that they're not skewed to the right so much. You can see when I let go here how this last couple trees on the original have a tendency to be turning this way. That's because they're on a hill and the trees are trying to go straight up. So it's distortion. So I'm going to hit OK, and that helps out. But it changed our subject a little bit. So let's bring our subject back. How do we do that? By erasing the new portion of the subject that's been distorted. I'm going to take that top layer, make its opacity 50%. I'm going to bring it down. Look what happens. You can see both versions now. So when I bring it back down to 50%, I can grab an eraser, come down here to the tools, and pick a soft brush. See, at the top here are hard brushes. If we scroll down, we'll find a soft brush right around here. And let's see, that size is a little bit small. Let's make that about a 50-point soft brush. Now you can see that here. I'm going to erase around the image and try to keep the original intact and erase around here. See what's happening there? And I'm going to come across to these trees right around there, come across here like this, and keep the rest of the sky because that's okay. You can't tell that it's distorted. Now I'm going to come down here and do the bottom half and erase right along the edge here, making sure that we don't see a double exposure. And once we have that all erased, that's all we have to do is turn off that bottom layer, and it'll allow us to see what it is that we need to get rid of. And that's this portion right here. You want to see it a little bit better? I can take the opacity back up to 100%. And now you see the actual line of what we want to get rid of. I can grab the lasso tool and come down here and either choose a polygon or a freehand. I can do a freehand. This shouldn't be too hard to just kind of cut all of this out. This allows us to get rid of the top layer that was unfortunately skewed too much on the subject. Come down here, let go, you're going to see the marching ants. I hit delete, and there goes that portion of the subject. I can zoom back out. When I turn on the original, back on, look what happens. Our horizon is now level, the trees are a little bit more level, and our subject looks just like the first photo over here. And now I can show you the before, that's the original, and after. We were able to bring up the horizon without any issues. Now I can right click up here and merge that back down, making that one photo. And all that's left over is just to crop out what we don't want. We just come back down here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to crop this a little bit lower and lose some of the sky. I think there's way too much sky that we don't need. I'm going to bring it like down to about here, and then come over here and crop the left side of the photo over to the edge of the original and hit delete, and that's all there is to it. Now we got us a photo that's similar to this one, but the horizon here is level, not like the mountain that's turning low. Now let's work on the colorization a little bit. Let's take that photo and give it a little more spark. With Photoshop Elements, you can go to Enhance and Auto Smart Fix. Watch what happens. Boom. That in itself is almost perfection. It might be just a little too much contrast and color, but that's kind of what we're going for. I'm going to undo that, and let's do that manually. I can come back up here to Enhance, Lighting, Brightness, and Contrast, and watch what happens. If I make the contrast a little bit higher, look at that. I can bring the contrast down. It washes it out, or bring it back up a little bit. Now let's just kind of play around until we like just a little bit more contrast there. And let's take the brightness down. It'll take out some of this blown out area. I can make it really bright or make it really dark or somewhere in between. Anywhere you like, that looks really nice. And this is looking really good right about there. Here's the before, after. The before, look how washed out that looks. After. So we just added a little bit more contrast to the whole photo. Finally, I think what we'd like to do is maybe just add a little bit of color. So I can go to Enhance, Color, Adjust Hue and Saturation, and we can play around the saturation, take the color out. That looks pretty cool. Bring it up really too far, somewhere in between. So I think just give it a little bit more punch on the color right there at about a plus 15. Look at how nice and rich that looks compared to this one. It looks like a much more sunny day. Now you can take the lightness and play around with that. Now that brings it up to kind of a washed out. This would be great if you're doing titles card out of it, or you can bring it really low like this and it gets really too dark. So somewhere in between here, I think this is really nice. Right here at about a -4. That's looking great. Now, if your hues were off, you can always play around with the hues also. Look at this. Really, really cool effects that you could do. All kinds of neat stuff. So anywhere in the whole color gambit, we could play around with this. And that's all there is to it. Now you can see the difference between the original. This one is a lot more colorful and rich. If it's not exactly what you're looking for, feel free to play around with all the different tools Photoshop Elements has to give your photos that perfect spark you're looking for. This is Rich, calling it quits, saying over and out.